universe is either dependent or independent.
Yeah.
You accept the premise.
Yeah.
Dependent on something for its existence, or independent on itself. So independent. So in other words, not dependent on something for its existence. That's the definition of independent. Okay. So we look at, you believe that the universe is independent, so therefore not dependent on something else for its existence. Is that your position?
Yeah.
Okay, so how can you justify that position with evidences?
So I only observe things from within inside the universe, and I don't observe things being interdependent.
Really? Because I would
not in the way that you're talking about. Everything is interdependent. Things happen, and they don't affect other things. Things happen independently.
You good, yeah? All right.
So
wow. Yeah.
So there is.
Sorry, bro.
There are states of energy outside of the observable universe that exist within the universe, the total universe, that will never have any impact on other things on the opposite side of the universe.
Okay, listen.
So there is interdependency inside the universe.
I'm not saying, my definition of dependence is that it's not that thing A must be dependent upon thing Z. But what I am saying is that thing A may be dependent upon thing B, C, up until Z, right? So it can be dependent upon something else. So the example you've given is that in the context of the universe, you have something in, like, let's say, a place of the universe, which is not dependent upon something else in another place of the universe.
Sure.
And that there was no...
conversations dependent on us being here. Yeah.
Right, so what I'm saying is that generally speaking, though that might be the case indirectly, informally, it doesn't mean that it's lacking in any kind of dependent thing. So it is dependent upon something else.
Yeah, sure.
So my contention is that everything within the universe and everything you've experienced within the universe is necessarily, in fact, dependent upon something else. That's my contention. Everything here, the tree, me, you.
Do you believe the Big Bang or the?
I don't.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Finish the sentence.
Yeah.
Or something like it is unique.
Big Bang.
The Big Bang or some equivalent creation is unique. There's no other.
I don't know.
Bangs. Other
I don't know. No. The Islamic model is not. Sorry. The Islamic model is not one which says that, right? The Islamic model is one that believes that there is more than one. You could say heaven. Yeah. So firmament. Yeah, so it's not necessarily, so I couldn't speculate about that, to be completely honest with you. And I don't think you can either. I don't think we can generally. I don't think we can negate the existence of something which we haven't proven exists, right? Because multiverse is an interesting theory. The thing about multiverse is some people expand it to an infinite amount of universes without any necessary reason to do that, right? You can have a multiverse of 10 universes, of 5 universes, of 7 universes, of whatever it may be, right? So, in my opinion, I mean, the idea of the singularity that caused the universe to exist, it could very well be very unique, and it could very well be a duplicate of something that happened before. Yeah, with another universe. So I'm not sure about that, right? You know, I'm not sure about it. Yeah, from an Islamic perspective, it's not clear, right? But what I want to say to you is, just generally speaking, the argument, as it's referred to as the argument of contingency, and some philosophers have propounded this, Leibniz and others, very intelligent philosophers, come forward with the arguments of contingency with more than one stage. For me, it's a simple thing. A simple thing, right? The simplicity of it is as follows. If we accept that in our experience of the universe, things within the universe, the structure of the universe, are necessarily contingent on other things in order for them to exist, then it does make sense to suggest that the universe itself is contingent, dependent on something else for its existence.
Yes, but it's about what that thing is.
Right.
Conversation.
Exactly. So I mean,
and the idea of a god or some kind of transcendent mind or some immaterial being doesn't seem to me sufficient to meet that requirement. It seems that
Yeah, I mean, it might not seem like it.
Seems to be a universe-creating process has created this universe.
But you're giving agency to something which doesn't actually exist.
The universe doesn't exist.
No, the process itself is as a result of someone or something that's put the process into existence. Unless you believe that the process exists in a vacuum, right?
Well, I'm saying there may be something outside of the universe or universes or etc. beyond things that are inside or outside of universes that will have theoretically started a process.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm saying that thing is a oh, thanks. That thing that was outside the universe is the transcendent. Let's just call it for the sake of argument or for the sake of discussion, the transcendent. So we've talked about contingency. The universe contingent on something else. It's contingent on the transcendent. What are the characteristics of this transcendent? I would put to you that the characteristics of the transcendent must be that the transcendent is able to, ability, right? And power, a kind of sovereignty, I would even say. Because frankly, if it wasn't sovereign or independent in its own right, then it couldn't cede a kind of contingency to other contingent actors.
What do you mean by sovereign exactly?
Sorry.
Sovereignty and independence I've put as interchangeable. But you can use one or the other, it's not a problem.
So you're saying there is a way to create something from nothing.
No.
And the only way to do that is
Is
if
if
you are a transcendent being.
Well, I mean, from nothing would suggest that there is nothing at all, right? I wouldn't say that. I would say that there was something that then created something. Okay, now how that entity did
Why
it,
couldn't the universe just always be there? What's wrong with that?
we talked about the idea of independence, right?
Right.
And time. So I was saying that, have I talked to you before? Okay, what's your name?
I don't think. Oh, maybe we have.
What's your name?
Phil.
Oh, I have,
We
of
have.
course,
We
yeah,
have.
of
We
course,
have.
man.
We did. We did.
And you done the break dances.
Yeah.
This guy's a beast. This guy's a beast.
I've put my own muscle, so I'm not doing anything.
You're not going to do any of that. Phil,
No,
I
I
thought
pulled
I
a muscle,
recognized
so-
you, Phil.
Yeah. We did.
You've already spoken.
Mohammed.
Sorry. We've spoken already.
I know you're an intelligent guy. I know that you're a physicist, isn't it?
No, I'm not.
What's your thing back on?
No, but I make documentaries with physicists.
That's what it was. Right? And you had this whole thing with like Stephen Hawking.
That's right. I made a film with him.
Right, excellent.
Did you watch it?
No, I haven't. Well, you did tell me about it.
Maybe you'd like to learn something.
You can teach me, man.
Yeah. Well, our film is called No Boundary Proposal. That's a different film.
I guess what I'm trying to say to him
Yeah.
is that we talked about in the beginning, just kind of to brief you on what we were saying, right?
Yeah, sure.
So we're just saying that the universe is either dependent or independent, yeah? So we looked at the evidences for both of those things, dependent on something else, independent, therefore not dependent on something else.
Okay.
So here we talked about the fact that, okay, it's independent.
But why can it not just be, as it were, and not depend on something else?
That's what I just said. So we looked at that. We looked at it.
So what was the...
So our kind of conclusion was that from the evidence, it doesn't seem,
What evidence?
from the experiential evidence within the framework of the universe, it doesn't seem it, because everything that's within the universe is dependent upon something else. So we couldn't say that the universe itself is independent, where everything inside of it is dependent.
But you're saying the rules for the universe must be the same as the things in the universe, is that correct?
Not in all cases. Not in all cases. But in this case, yes.
Okay. What I don't follow is that, so you're saying, let's say, formation of a planet is dependent upon the formation of the circumstellar disk before it, and so on and so forth.
There is a fallacy called the fallacy of
Well, this
composition.
is what I'm going to suggest. It seems like that's the fallacy you're making.
Of composition. However, the fallacy of composition is only a fallacy when you know the end result. Now, I'll give you an example, right? For example, if you have a red wall,
Yeah.
if I say that red bricks are put together, and
So you don't have to explain the fallacy of
no,
composition,
but
we know it.
no, not everyone knows the fallacy
Oh.
of composition, right?
Okay.
But I want to make a point to you, right?
Yeah.
Which is that, say for example, you put like red bricks, yeah.
Right.
Or you can say like, the fallacy of composition. If I say that the constituent parts of an elephant is small, therefore the elephant is small, yeah.
Yeah, of course, that's
Okay,
the fallacy
good.
of composition.
Now, if I say the constituent parts of the red wall is the red wall is red, therefore the bricks are red. Yeah, that's not a fallacy of composition. Although I'm using the same logic. So
it depends how you arrive at the conclusion.
What I'm saying to you is that the fallacy of composition, as an informal logical fallacy, only exists within a certain framework whereby there is certainty that the small is not compatible with the whole.
I disagree. That's not right.
Yeah, of course it
fallacious. No. You're saying that only when you know the answer are you making
only when
the
you
logical fallacy.
No. I didn't say that.
Well, that's what you.
No. Let me say it again, Phil.
Okay.
I'm saying that only if you know the elephant is big, can you tell me that the constituent parts of the small elephant are contradictory to his larger size. So I'm saying here, if you go back to our example of the red wall,
Okay.
I say that the red bricks come together to create a red wall, right? Now, if I say the constituent parts of the red wall are red bricks, yeah? Red bricks make a red wall. The part is compatible with the whole. So here, I've generalized, it's not called composition here. Do you know what I've done? I've done an argument, an inductive argument. I've looked at a small and I've generalized it on a larger. And what I'm doing with the context of the universe and the idea of dependence/independence is the same thing. I'm saying, I'm not making an argument from composition. I'm making an argument from induction. I'm saying that if we're able to look at
can you
see the difference?
The problem with
Yes.
Number of problems. First off, I don't think you can do the induction that you claim you can do because you don't have experience of universes coming into being, right?
No, I don't need it though.
No, but you do, okay? Because you're saying
Why do I need it?
can infer from what I see within the universe.
By the way, I don't want to because this man, young
Sorry,
man.
did you want to have this? I didn't mean to.
We've had this conversation.
We have.
before.
You guys do it.
Do you get what I'm saying? Sorry.
That's fine.
Did you get what I'm saying?
We'll catch up later. I don't want to.
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I apologize. Yes. We were saying, so you see, that was one of the things. I'm happy he actually brought it into because that's one of the kind of objections some people have. They call it the fallacy of composition. I want it to be very clear that what I'm not doing is I'm not arguing from composition. I'm arguing from reduction. So what I'm saying is that from what we can see, the universe and all of, in fact, we've got a large sample of infinite amount of. I'm not infinite in the vernacular sense, right? We've got a large sample of an X amount of things which are dependent upon other things. Therefore, we have strong reason to believe that the universe is dependent on another thing. So we talked about the transcendent, right? And now we're at the level where we're saying the transcendent figure must have certain characteristics. I was saying, I would put to you...
You're immediately going to a figure.
Okay, not figure, entity.
Or entity, or anything. You're immediately going to
So what do you want to call it?
Sorry?
What should we call
It's
it?
still transcendent. It's still unknown. It's still...
Fine, okay, the transcendent.
Yeah.
The transcendent must have certain characteristics that enable for it, or mean for it to be A, transcendent, and B, able to allow other things to be dependent upon it. I would put to you the one thing that it would require for it to enable other things to be dependent upon it is independence. So why does it require independence? Because if we don't have independence of the transcendent, then you're going to have a cycle of dependent things, basically.
But the only other thing that's completely independent...
A regressive cycle.
Is nothing.
Pardon?
The only other thing that's completely independent is nothing.
Okay, but then you'd have to make the argument that the universe came to existence from nothing.
Right?
Okay, can you make that argument?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, please, make
Where
it.
do numbers start?
Where do numbers start? I'm just asking you, can you...
Where do numbers start?
In what sense?
What's the first number?
One.
No, what's the first number?
Well, you think 0 is the first number?
Yes.
0, I wouldn't consider 0 a number. I consider the first thing as 1.
The origin of all numbers. What's an infinitesimal?
Pardon?
Do you know what an infinitesimal is?
When it gets very small, very, the smallest thing.
So
Yeah,
that would be the first number, wouldn't it?
yeah. Okay, no, I would say
Where
1
did
is.
that come from?
So you're saying that 0...
It's bigger than 0.
So, okay, there's two issues here.
And you also have negative numbers.
Okay.
And you have everything in equal measure, both positive and negative, both red and blue, both infinite dimensions.
Numbers don't exist.
Everything we think is abstract.
Numbers don't exist. Numbers are numbers are inherently metaphysical constructs which only exist in the context of your brain.
So
yeah, fine.
Every subjective experience is as abstract as a
So
number.
I'm asking, how does this link? Because if you want to use that model to try and prove that the universe came from nothing, I'm saying to you here, how would you be able to do so when you realize that actually numbers don't even exist in a tangible sense in the world that we live in?
I only have a subjective experience, and
Fine.
that
So-
doesn't exist
Right, fine.
other than in my experience of it.
Good.
And
So-
it's gone.
Right.
And it's gone. again.
So we can't use that as an evidence, and there's no evidence from it anyway.
That's all we have.
And even if you use numbers, you put two zeros together, you're not going to get a 1 from it.
Or you can factorize it.
Yeah, but you're not going to get 1 from it.
Yeah.
0 plus 0.
0 factorial is 1.
No, I'm talking about factorizing.
Factorial.
This is not nothing to do with factorizing it. Why would you factorize it? Why would you factorize it? That's got nothing to do with it.
Itself.
Why?
What?
Why would you want to factorize 0? Why?
Factorial. Not factorial.
Factorialize it. Why would you do it? Why would you do it? What is the reason for it? Pardon? Yeah, how would that be appropriate in the context that we're talking about?
I was just saying you can get, by operating on 0, you can get value.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you can't. You can operate on 0 and get value, no problem. Yeah, okay, but that's nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
We're talking about a condition either where there is some
I'm just saying
transcendent, interdependent thing, and that thing being different from nothing itself.
So what's the difference between the vernacular nothing and 0, the mathematical 0?
0 is a representation of a state of knowledge or not.
So the vernacular nothing and 0. If I say the vernacular nothing and 0
nothing refers to.
are synonyms, what would you say about that?
If you applied nothing, 0, to a value of everything everywhere, then yes.
Okay, good. So in a physics sense, if we were going to use 0, because the thing is, the way we use mathematics in the applied sense is through physics. So if I say 0, what does that indicate in physics?
Would you? You've already added physics to the question. Would you agree that all numbers and all concepts and everything that we think exists independent of us, out there somewhere for us to discover?
What?
Your experiences in the future are something you are going to find out pretty soon, but they exist somewhere in some kind of abstract idea realm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We believe that's called the Lawh al-Mahfuz.
We're walking in a living memory.
We're walking in a
living memory. We are literally memories being played out.
It's an interesting way. I'm trying to get my head around it. It's interesting the way you're putting it. Well, I would put it differently, but I would say it's a memory. I would say we're predetermined to be here. I'll just put it that way. Yeah, it's predetermined.
Predetermination's a big subject. I've seen something. You did a video actually on predestination and predetermination. And the Islamic view is much better than the Christian view, so I was brought out with.
Well, I like that. Listen,
there's a lot of amazing philosophy and theology in Islam, but half of it is beautiful and really interesting, and half of it is a bit strange and misunderstood.
Well, it's aesthetic value judgment. That's the good thing about logical
position.
From your position, that's fine. But look, I think generally speaking, you've come with some really interesting things. But I want to kind of summarize the argument by saying as follows, right? And you can decide to agree or disagree, right? The argument for us is that the universe is dependent, it's contingent on something else, okay? What is this thing? So we would say that this thing must be a transcendent entity which has the propensity to bring something else or to allow something else to be dependent upon it or contingent on it. So we would say in that context that that thing is the universe. It is the transcendent.
In your view, there's only one of those?
Only one of those.
Okay. Is it possible that there are more than those?
No, it's not possible logically.
But the one that is jealous, and this is his space.
No. Because then that would allow the other one to be a subordinate to that one.
No, a co-equal.
I would say that the co-equality thesis is impossible. Because if we say that there was co-equal, all-powerful entities, that's a contradiction. Because they're all-powerful...
but they all have absolute power, and they all agree.
No, that's a contradiction.
Step on each other's toes.
If I was to say to you, for example, that me and you have absolute power of that tree, yeah?
Yeah.
So if I decide through will to take one branch off, but your will contradicts my will,
yeah.
then there would be a contradiction in the way that either that tree would not, the branch would not move,
And you have
or me and you
contracts.
would have to.
So you have to have a contract. That half is your space.
Perfect.
and
Now,
this
if
half
the
is my
if
space.
the if the contract is formed, then that would degenerate from my overall power status, because that would force me into a compromising position. The moment I'm forced into a compromising position is the moment I've been weakened, and from an all-powerful status to a lower than all-powerful status. Therefore, the idea of a co-equality thesis is an impossible one, and that's why Occam's razors are also quite interesting in this, because Occam's razor suggests that the most simple explanation for these phenomena, whatever phenomena they may be, is the one we should take. So in this context, I would put to you that the most simple explanation for the phenomena of the universe is that there's one singular, independent, sovereign entity which is transcendent and has the propensity and ability to put the universe not only into existence but allow the universe to be contingent on this independent source.
So where do you get the where do all the other ideas of gods that are seemingly greater than this one God that only created this one universe?
Yes.
And whatever else it created.
That's why we say Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar literally means God is the greatest. I mean, there's nothing literally greater than God. We say Allahu Samad. That a Samad means literally that everything relies upon Him and He relies upon nothing. So in other words, He is the independent sovereign source. Yeah.
The multiverse doesn't fit with that. There are things that this God chose.
The multiverse, as me and you both know, is unsubstantiated. It's religion. It's mythology.
It doesn't matter. It's an idea.
Right,
but
fine.
It's greater than what God supposedly
It depends
created.
on your idea of greatness, frankly. Why would you think it's greater? It's just a series of events.
It's more. That's what greater
well,
means.
I don't know. No, greater does not equate more in the vernacular.
Well, if you're talking in a conceptual sense.
Yeah, if philosophically or greater, we're talking about, for us to define greatness, we have to identify attributes.
You're talking about within a realm of feeling of the greatest thing. Not, I mean, in philosophy, you still have definitions. If you come up with a definition, you can still come up with a definition that expands on that definition. So you would have a greater definition.
What I mean by greatness, myself, I say that if all of the attributes of God that we've described, like for example his sovereignty,